How do you approach hiring? It's a little bit out of left field, and it's a really, really tricky one. And I heard you recently talk about T-shaped marketers and hiring generalists. So when you were looking to hire for Wynter, did you kind of say like, okay, I think I'm going to need like a copywriter, I'm going to need 4 devs, I'm going to need this, and then you went out and hired them? Or did you kind of say like, I'm going to hire some generalists and we're just like going to make it happen? Like, how did you approach that? Or how's your philosophy changed with hiring?
Yeah, well, it really depends on the constraints you have for hiring. That determines a lot, like who you can hire, who can you afford to hire, because it's easy to hire yourself out of business. It's just we need to balance these things. And also, my point of view in hiring has evolved to. So when I was starting my first company, CXL and so on, hired mostly very junior people with the goal that we can't afford to hire really senior people. So let's hire for talent, train for skill. Now, the problem with that approach is that, and you probably know this too, it takes a fucking long time to train for skill. If somebody's just starting out,
Even with CXL.
yeah, I mean, it takes a long ass time. I mean, to train a proper CRO person, on average, it took us 2 years before they were good. 2 years is a long time.
Definitely
And so
in the agency world.
if you can afford to buy somebody who is like already there, I recommend you go that route. You just hire for skill and train for more skill. That's what I would say. So the seniority of already knowing shit is very valuable. And there's another perspective here, which is most companies do exactly the same things. So all the bookkeeping, you need some, candidate sourcing, HR. You need, some sort of development. You need, like all these things. You need sales, and you need marketing, you need SEO, you need PPC, content marketing, all these things that you need. And now, depending on who you are, like, what is it actually that makes you you? So, like, I recently spoke to a founder of an e-commerce company, and they're doing about 20 million a year in revenue. They're selling shoes, manufacturing, and selling direct to consumer. They don't own any factories, or all manufacturing is outsourced. The whole supply chain management, which factories to use and where, and it's all outsourced. Third-party logistics, outsourced. Warehousing, with the third-party logistic, outsourced. PPC outsourced, SEO, content, everything is outsourced. So really, the only thing they do is brand management and strategy. Everything else is like, we're not a manufacturing business, right? We're managing the brand of the shoe. So I think that is the way to go. So in the old status game, how entrepreneurs brag, well, I'm about 100 employees. Look at me, It's like, well, what's the average revenue per employee? Like, we're like, what are we bragging about? And I guess a lot of it comes from like the fact that it feels kind of like jerky to say how much money you make. And it's like, oh, we're making 100 million, so it's, you don't want to say that, so you use a proxy, which is how many employees you have, so we could like calculate kind of like how what I'm talking about over here. But I think like the actual role model should be like Instagram. That was like, I think about 10 people when they sold for $1 billion. Talk about leverage. And in order to optimize for companies, speed, being really fast, and optimize for high productivity, I would hire the most senior people you can afford to manage the 20% core of what makes you you, and you outsource everything else. So instead of investing in talent management, you invest in vendor management, which is a skill that needs to also be developed. And obviously, in order for all of this to work really well, is you need all the standard operating procedures and processes, that all these things that help to scale. Usually in the first year of the life of a company, you have very little of those things because you need a lot of brute force. But then after a certain point, you need process. And the more senior people you hire, they've seen the processes. They know the processes needs to be set up. They can see shit when they come across it, whereas junior people do not. They don't know what good looks like. But another advantage of working with vendors is that, So let's say it's content marketing, right? So I might hire Linda as a full-time content marketer for my business. But then Linda has a hard time with the boyfriend, and then there's COVID, and the neighbor is sick, and the cat just died. And Linda has problems, and then becomes demotivated and doesn't like this other colleague. And so basically, I need to deal with all these problems. I need to take care of Linda and her emotional problems, and deal with the conflicts. And then maybe my feedback was not good enough, and then she's angry at me. Like most of company management is people management and problem management. That's what a manager should do. And if you read books like Radical Candor, which is all about managing people, you'll learn shit like how many hours a week should a manager spend on managing people and feelings versus to work. Really, ideally, out of a 40-hour work week, 30 hours goes just on giving guidance, feedbacks, and managing emotional problems. In a small business, you just don't have that time. Like I'm managing people. I'm not investing 30 hours in guidance and holding their hand and giving feedback. And so, if instead of Linda, I have an agency, I have an SLA, I have a service level agreement. I'm buying 8 blog posts a month that should be published and of this quality. And I don't give a shit how it gets done. If their writer is sick, they're going to replace it with some other person they have. And I'm getting a product, and this is a real company, and I can rely on it. Whereas my employee can have a bad day, and then it's like not the quality is not there, and it's my problem. I need to so it asks for a lot of my own management time. So another way to move faster, like you have senior people managing vendors, and there's a service level agreement. Shit needs to be shipped, and that's it. So less problems and more speed. Obviously, there's a vast quality difference between agencies. It's like people hiring people. There are shitty agencies and there are good agencies, so that you can still go wrong. But then you need to have the processes in place to easily switch them out so that the agencies, ideally, it's a long-term partner for years and years. But if need be, it's fungible. We can just switch them out.